Hi, I'm Dakota Schildknecht. This is my instructional coach video. Miss Swartz is a colleague of mine, and she was so gracious to record herself filming, and she did a math lesson with small groups. So I had a chance to look over the videos, and what was your teaching, what was your unit or lesson focused on for this?
So we were doing a MTSS small group intervention, reviewing dividing up to 4 digits by a 1-digit divisor.
Okay. So during this video, I saw, so many great things. You can definitely tell that her students enjoy being with her in the small group, and they're prepared. They were ready to go. They had everything that they needed with them ready to go. I saw several great strategies that she used. At a minute 41, she was pulling out skip counting and just referring back to multiplication to work with division. So I appreciate that you recorded yourself and I was able to watch it. So thank you for that. Okay. So after this mini lesson, what do you hope to see from your students? So what would you like them to do after this?
Right. So we just started these small groups, and so it's been a lot more of me assisting them or me giving questions or prompts to help get them through long division or another strategy. So the goal is to ease up on the amount of teacher assistance needed and move them into solving them independently without needing prompts or additional supports for me.
Okay. So after this lesson, so you teach, you've worked with the kids, what's something that you want to change from this lesson? So if you could change one thing after, what would you have?
So I feel like time management is always a big thing, especially when you're doing small group interventions and trying to get through all of your groups. And so something I noticed as I was also looking back through this is that I assisted, we did 3 or 4 word problems, but I never gave them a chance to try to do one on their own. And so I think just being more time or mindful about it and setting aside that time for them to be practicing it on their own.
Okay. Yeah, good way to check for understanding. How long are you going to run this cycle? So what does that typically look like for you?
So we normally do 2 to 3 week cycles depending on student needs or how quickly they're getting through it. So obviously as we're checking for proficiency, our groups are very flexible. So as students are showing proficiency, we kind of checkpoint them and then bump them up to the next group. That way we're helping those students make that progress and move towards proficiency. So normally 2 weeks.
Good, yeah. I like the flexibility that you have with your small groups. That's amazing. Love that. I forgot to cut that out. Okay, how will you assess if this goal is met? So what would you do at the end of your lesson?
Right, so for MTSS groups, the groups are formed based on post-test data from the math teacher, and then we move them into those groups, and like I said, they're flexible, so as we see students showing that proficiency, we bump them up, and then at the end of the 2-week cycle, or given how they're showing that proficiency, maybe before or after that, we will give them a checkpoint to reassess the students that have met that proficiency or ones that need to go back into a cycle for that skill later on.
Okay. What strategies do you think that you could implement that would help the students become more independent in their thinking? So working with word problems, what strategies would you like to implement?
I think having them master the strategy itself, because they understand how to divide, they just get stumped on some of the steps. So just having them, maybe giving them a template or something that they can use independently to work through and kind of master that long division strategy, as well as prompts. I know we use cubes, which is something that the other math teacher uses as well. So we analyze the word problem, help break it down, actually visualize what's happening. So doing more of that and cueing them to just, some of them knew that it was division because we'd been working on division. And so trying to get them to slow down and actually think, well, yes, we're working on division, but what if it was any operation? How would you know that? So I think giving them prompts or helping them review that cubes and then also the strategy itself.
Okay. All right, so we've discussed this, and so based on what your needs are in the classroom and then what strategies we have, I definitely think that focusing on implementing those thinking prompts in your small group or whenever you're working with kids on these problems is going to be beneficial for them. So there's a resource. iReady has 100 questions, and it is based on like what the students need. So if you need a collaboration with math groups, there's question prompts for that. If you need students to work independently, there's a set of like question prompts for that. Some things that you're probably already doing, because great teacher, but just making sure that we're asking those good questions every time we're with them, and then making the students think about that like independently is going to be, I think, something that we could try. So questions, having them like read the word problem independently, and then if they're stuck, maybe like, how could you use this with a picture? Could you use a diagram, or is there a list that you can make? Chunking it into parts instead of just all at once for students.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
No, that makes sense. And also, as you're talking about that, and you're talking about like having a picture, like we talked about cubes, I know the word problems we pulled up were on the computer. And so it's great because they can enter the answer and check themselves, but it's hard because they're not able to then physically go back and practicing like circle important numbers or like underlining the question, which I think that tactile part is important to him. So just maybe also having a copy of the questions in front of them as well would be important.
You brought that up. Side note, on Edulastic, you can actually use those features if you do the Sketchpad. So I didn't realize that until an assessment today. Mm-hmm. So students would be able to use those strategies like cubes on Edulastic if that's something that you do in the future. Okay. A goal that I want, so we want our students to work independently, and so we're going to use our thinking prompts. So just a goal that we can focus on just to help students complete word prompts independently, word problems independently. Yeah. We're going to do thinking prompts to help them, and then we want to make sure that we've got 75% of your students with mastery of this goal while working independently. So again, if we do that in a couple weeks, we think that could work. Mm-hmm. And then we can kind of check and do exit tickets as we go.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
When's the next time you want to meet?
So 2-week cycle. We're at like the 2.5 weeks before Christmas break. So I would say we'll probably wrap up this one right before break and then start fresh after when we come back from Christmas break. So probably a few days before break.
Yeah, we can do that. Thank you so much for this interview.
I appreciate it. An opportunity.
Thank you.